Hey guys, how's it going? It's Janie over here at JaniesSweets. Welcome back to another Friday Fixes episode where you ask me okay questions and I do my best to answer them for you. Now, today's episode is going to be all about cottage food law. If you live in a state that does not have any cottage food laws like I did in New Jersey, then this video is definitely going to be helpful for you because I'm going to give you guys my tips and tricks on how I got around it and I was still able to, make and sell my cakes to clients. But also I'm just going to touch base on what even is cottage food law. If you're new to this, maybe you didn't even hear about it before. How do you even look up the cottage food laws in your specific state? So let's get started with the video because I have a lot to talk about. Before we get started, I do want to take a little time to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content, because I will make a video every single Friday this year. It's going to be, one of them is going to be a Friday Fixes like this one where I give you tips and tricks on different things, and the next one is going to be sharing a recipe or a decorating video with you guys. So there's a lot coming up this year. You don't want to miss out. So if you're not subscribed, please take the time to hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. So anyway, let's get started with the topic today. Now, let me go, backtrack for some of you guys who have never heard of cottage food law. It only affects you if you live in the United States. I don't think they have it anywhere else, but if you do live in the States, you should know about it. Now let me read what the Google description of a cottage food law is. Now it says, cottage food laws are basically laws that allow small-time producers to use appliances in their home to bake, cook, can, pickle, dry, or candy certain low-risk foods for sale. So if you are planning on baking out of your home, meaning you're going to use the same kitchen that you use to make your eggs in the morning, your sandwich for lunch, and your pasta for dinner, if you're going to use that same kitchen to bake a cake, because this is what it relates to for us, bake a cake or sweets to sell to customers or clients, you need to abide by these laws. Now, it's extremely important for you to understand what your law is for your specific state, because each state is 100% different. Some states have very, very lenient cottage food laws. Other states, they're very, very strict, and other states don't have one at all. So what it means is you actually legally cannot make anything out of your house and sell it to customers. How do you even look up the cottage food laws in your state? You can do a simple Google search. It will come up on Google if you type what is the cottage food law in Connecticut, in Michigan, or wherever the state that you live in, Virginia, whatever, Florida, and then it will list everything that you need to abide by. Some laws, like for example, they say that you just can't make cream cheese products, so like a red velvet cake with a cream cheese filling, you couldn't do that and sell it to people. Other states, they're like, just pretty much do what you want, just as long as you're not killing anybody. So you really, really want to make sure that you're abiding by the laws in your state. Now, what do you do when you don't have a cottage food law in your specific state? I think New Jersey is one of the only one, and I think maybe Hawaii is the second one. I don't know. There's two in the entire US that do not have a cottage food law. Now, I lived in New Jersey for years and I baked my cakes and I sold them to people. Now, how did I do that? Now, you pretty much have three options here. The first option is to ignore the law altogether. You just bake away and sell it to whoever you want to. This is a very tricky one, because I did it in the beginning and I think a lot of people do it. The way I see it is I'm not selling my cakes to the masses. Like, I'm not baking pies and taking them to like bake fairs or food fairs or farmers markets and selling them to random, Joe Schmoes coming over. The people who came over to get my cakes were people that I actually knew, like acquaintances from work, or actually my friends or my family. So I was okay taking that risk. If somebody were to fall ill, I knew that they wouldn't turn around and sue me or anything like that. So I was okay with it. The problem came when I started making wedding cakes and more elaborate cakes, and other random people started hearing and seeing about my work and wanted to hire me. Now, if it's a random person who wants a cake from me, I really wanted to make sure that I was abiding by the rules. So I went over and I looked up cottage food laws in New Jersey, and lo and behold, there were none. So I was like, okay, what do I do? Which leads me to my second tip. What you can do is you can use a different kitchen, quote unquote. This is what someone had told me when I went to register my business. I was like, but New Jersey doesn't have a cottage food law. How can I sell cakes out of my home? And he told me, well, if you have a separate space that is not connected to your kitchen, so you need to have a separate sink and a separate oven. If you have that somewhere, separate bowls, separate whisk, like, so pretty much nothing comes out of your kitchen into there, nothing comes out of there into your kitchen, it's technically considered a separate space. So you can legally make the cakes there and sell them, which is why I then developed my cake room. In my first apartment, I definitely did not have it. In the second one that I lived in, I turned, you know, an entire space into my cake room, and that was a separate space from my kitchen. I was not using the same stuff, so that was okay. So once I found out that this was a way to trick the system, if you will, I started looking into it further. So the other option that you have is, if this does not work for you, if you don't have a separate space to do your baking, you can rent commercial kitchens. The first wedding cake that I made, I really wanted to make sure that this was going to be done properly. I was so afraid of making it out of my home, and back then I didn't have the extra space to make the cake room. So what I did is I went to my local church and I asked them if I could use their kitchen. That kitchen is technically commercial, so it's okay to use that. Some places will let you borrow them. Some places you will have to rent them. If you don't have access to a local church, or you don't know someone who owns a restaurant that you can bake out of, then you can look up commercial kitchens for rent in blah area, and it will give you a list. I know the commercial kitchens in my area were very expensive, so I was very lucky to be able to find that local church that would let me use their kitchen. However, if that's not an option and you have to go with the local commercial kitchen for rent, you can probably upcharge the cake that you're going to make, especially something like a wedding cake. If you upcharge it and you work in the price of renting the kitchen, then that's perfectly fine. What that means is you have to make the cake there, and it has to be stored there, and the person has to come pick it up there, or you have to deliver it to the person from that location. It's definitely beneficial to do if you have a huge order and you definitely don't want anyone getting sick from that order, or if you're going to make a lot of money in that order and you can, weave in the price of it. So that's it, guys. Those are my tips and tricks on how to get around cottage food law, and I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you live in a state that does not have cottage food law, or even if you live in a state that has a very strict cottage food law, I hope this was helpful to you, that you were able to get something out of it. If you enjoyed this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. If you did not enjoy it, give it a thumbs down so that I know. Also, share this video with your friends and family if you think it will be beneficial to them. Subscribe to the channel so that you do not miss out on any of my future videos. That is it for this week's video, you guys. I love you. I'll talk to you later.